energy. We've harnessed it, tamed it, and put it to work for us. But, like a wild beast, energy is always ready to escape. And if you're not careful to understand the dangers in order to keep the beast under control, it can hurt you, even kill you. That's why the most effective way to control hazardous energy is to put it under lock and key.
Failure to control hazardous energy causes some of the most severe injuries in industry today. Year after year, most lockout tagout injuries can be traced to one or more of these 5 causes. 1. Failure to stop equipment. 2. Failure to disconnect from the power source. 3. Failure to dissipate residual energy. 4. Accidental restarting of equipment. And 5. Failure to clear work areas before reactivation. That's why the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, created the Lockout Tagout standard to control hazardous energy. Your employer has put into place a written step-by-step energy control plan that complies with this standard and ensures that lockout tagout at your facility is done, and done right. This video is designed to work with your employer's plan and teach basic concepts about the nature of the energy beast. You will learn about various energy sources, what lockout tagout is, and when you should lockout tagout. You'll also learn to use OSHA's 6 steps to controlling hazardous energy properly. It's important to know and identify the various sources of energy that operate the machines or systems you will be working on. Let's quickly review some specific types of energy you will probably find in your workplace. Electrical energy is present in power transmission lines, transformers, circuit breakers, and motors, to name a few. Keep in mind that electricity can either be the direct energy source, that is, the charge that runs a power tool, or the indirect source, the power that runs a hydraulic machine. Hydraulic energy is fluid under pressure. For example, cylinders and lift trucks are run by hydraulic energy. Pneumatic energy is air under pressure. Pneumatic systems require faster cycles of operation than hydraulic systems. Pressurized liquids and gases, including steam and chemicals, are energy sources present in pipes and supply lines, storage tanks, and vessels. As you know, locking out is a technique used to prevent hazardous energy from injuring and even killing workers. In a lockout, a padlock is placed on a disconnect switch, circuit breaker, valve handle, or other energy isolating mechanism that is in the off or closed position. In a tagout, a written warning tag is placed here instead. Your employer will provide all individual locks, keys, tags, and other lockout tagout materials that you will need. These items must be durable, keyed differently, and unable to be removed easily. For example, tags must be made so that when exposed to wet conditions, they will not become illegible. They must not deteriorate in corrosive environments either. Do not use these materials for locking personal items or anything else. Locks and tags are unique for the job, for locking up hazardous energy only. They must be standardized for either color, shape, or size. Your name or clock number or some way of identifying who attached the lock or tag must be listed on the lock or tag itself. You may be given a personal lock to use. Never lend it to a coworker. Make sure you understand the importance and personal responsibility of locks and tags. After all, you literally hold the key to your own safety. OSHA considers the use of a lock safer than using just a tag. However, tagout can be practiced alone as long as your employer can show that tagging out provides the same level of safety that a lockout system provides. But special additional training is required when tags are the only form of protection. This training will inform you about the limitations of tags and the importance of obeying their warnings. Often companies will require both lockout and tagout. Regardless of whether your employer uses lockout, tagout, or both, make sure you understand and follow the correct procedures for your particular organization. Whenever you are performing service or maintenance on any machine where unexpected startup or release of stored energy could cause injury, you must perform lockout tagout procedures. Service or maintenance activities include constructing, installing, inspecting, or modifying equipment. For example, you should lockout tagout when repairing electrical circuits, cleaning or lubricating machinery with moving parts, or clearing jammed machinery, even changing light ballasts. During normal operating activities, you will not need to lockout tagout. However, if you must remove or bypass a guard or other safety device, or if you must place any part of your body where you could be caught or trapped by moving machinery, you must lockout tagout. It's one thing to remove or bypass a guard to service equipment that's locked or tagged out, but don't play games with built-in safety features. Never tape down or bypass an engineering lockout. Keep in mind that if you are the person who actually performs service and maintenance, or are in charge of locking and tagging out, you are considered an authorized employee. Only authorized and trained employees can perform lockout-tagout procedures. An affected employee does not actually perform the service and maintenance, but may operate the machinery or equipment that you service and maintain, or may be in the same area. As an authorized employee, it is your responsibility to inform affected employees of your activities concerning lockout-tagout. Keep in mind that affected employees may include any outside contractors that are performing work in your area as well. Controlling hazardous energy is only as safe as the procedures followed before locks and tags are attached. Your key to safety is to always follow lockout-tagout procedures by the book. After all, OSHA requires your employer to annually inspect its energy control program to ensure all procedures are being performed correctly. This inspection will include a review between the inspector and each authorized employee of his or her responsibilities under the energy control procedures. If the inspector has reason to believe your knowledge of the procedures is inadequate, you will be retrained. Otherwise, you will be retrained on lockout-tagout whenever there is a change in your job assignment, a change in machines, equipment, or processes where a new hazard is present, or when there is a change in your employer's procedures. Attaching a lock or tag is only one part of a 6-step procedure that OSHA requires for controlling hazardous energy. Remember, before you begin lockout-tagout procedures, let everyone in the affected area know when and where lockout-tagout is going to occur. Now let's go through each step one by one. What kind of energy powers the system you're about to shut down? Is there more than one type involved? You must know what kind of energy operates the system. But it's even more important to know the energy's hazards and how they should be controlled. This information may be contained in a checklist derived from your employer's written procedures. Checklist or not, always ask your supervisor if you have any questions about the types of energy or their hazards. To shut down equipment, use the normal stopping procedure for the equipment you're servicing. It could simply be putting a switch in the off position, or pressing a button, or using a more complex operation dictated by your employer's shutdown procedures or manufacturer's instructions. This step goes beyond simply turning the power off. Step 3 involves carefully isolating the system from every energy source feeding it. Close valves, throw main disconnects, throw circuit breakers. Don't forget to disconnect or cap any auxiliary power sources too, such as secondary electrical, steam, hydraulic, or pneumatic systems. Don't shortcut this step by simply pulling fuses. They are too easily replaced. Attach a lock and tag to the energy isolating device to prevent someone from restoring the flow of energy. Do this at all disconnect switches, valves, and other energy isolating devices. Remember, locks are the preferred method of controlling hazardous energy, but it is recommended that you also apply a tag, if not already required by your employer. Tags will provide extra protection and vital information about who is doing the work and when it should be completed. Your signature and photo may be on your tag for easy identification. If your employer requires only the use of tags, you must place them at the same point where locks would be attached. A tag should clearly indicate that removing it and reactivating the flow of energy is absolutely prohibited. For equipment that is incapable of lock attachment, place a tag as close to the energy isolating device as possible, or attach padlock eyes to the mechanism and affix your lock. The following devices will be helpful in various energy sources. For circuit breakers, place a circuit breaker lockout device over the breaker switch in the off position. Secure the device onto the breaker, then attach your lock and tag through the hole. You can even lock out multi-pole breakers with various devices. To lock out fuses, first verify the circuit is de-energized. Then remove the fuse with an approved fuse puller. Place the fuse lockout in the fuse holder and attach a tie wrap and tag. Attach this plug lock to almost any electrical plug. Once you clamp it shut, attach your lock and tag. This type of device has various sizes for industrial plug applications. Or you can use a plug hugger. Simply plug the cord into the hugger and take your key. For extra protection, this wall switch lockout can be attached to almost any wall-mounted switch. Be sure the device is attached securely. Then insert your lock through the hole and verify that the switch cannot move. For locking out hydraulic, pneumatic, and other pressurized systems, use a ball valve lockout device. With the valve handle already in the off position, slip the device over the angled portion of the valve handle as far as possible. Place your lock and tag in the hole that provides the tightest fit. Lastly, make sure the valve cannot be moved. Use gate valve lockouts, which slip easily over round gate valve handles, and attach your lock and tag. Also, chains are often used to lock valves. In addition to these devices, obey caution labels which are fastened to machinery to remind authorized as well as affected employees. When more than one employee services the same equipment and must lock out the same energy isolating device, this is called group lockout. OSHA requires that each employee receive the same level of safety from group lockout as he or she would receive from individual lockout. Therefore, each worker must attach his or her own lock to a hasp so each person will be sure they are protected. Larger jobs involving a number of workers, for example a whole crew or department, will require special lockout procedures that are supervised by a single authorized employee. At any point in time, the entire procedure must remain under their authority and control. In such instances, a special lockbox may be used to keep all keys. Be sure to follow your employer's established procedures concerning group lockout. If outside contractors perform service and maintenance at your facility, your employer and the outside employer will see to it that all workers understand and follow the proper procedures. When in doubt, check it out. For example, if you come across a closed valve or switch that has been turned off but doesn't have a lock, most likely someone has turned it off for a reason. Find out why it has been turned off before restoring power. Even though hazardous energy is locked and tagged out, the equipment or system can still bite you with its stored energy. Be sure you relieve, disconnect, or restrain any residual hazardous energy that could be present. This includes checking that all moving parts have stopped turning, relieving trapped pressure, blanking pipe flanges, installing ground wires to discharge electrical capacitors, and blocking or supporting elevated equipment. After you do this, if you still think there's a chance of reaccumulation of hazardous energy, you must verify isolation continuously until you have completed servicing or maintenance or until the hazard no longer exists. Don't take anything for granted. Double-check your steps. Verify that you have, in fact, shut down the equipment, isolated the energy source, applied the lock and tag, and controlled any stored energy. Next, warn employees and make sure everyone is clear of the lockout area. Then test to make sure the right system has been locked out and cannot be operated. It's absolutely a must to check that equipment won't run before you begin your work. So press all start buttons or other activating controls, then return them to the off position. This will prevent the equipment from starting by itself when energy is restored. You are now ready to perform the work. If lockout tagout steps are performed correctly, everything should be fine. However, always be conscious of the possibility of accidental restarting or activation of the equipment while you are servicing it. Once you've completed the work, be sure the equipment is operationally intact and the tools and other non-essential items are cleared. Next, notify all affected employees that locks and tags will soon be removed. Perhaps by counting employees, you can be sure that everyone is clear from the area. Then remove lockout and tagout devices. Each worker removes his or her own lock. Remember, it is illegal to remove someone else's lock. Tag should be signed and turned in. Your company may require you to follow a checklist of required steps to reactivate the machinery so that no one is exposed to danger during startup. Be sure to notify affected employees that you have removed locks and tags and the equipment is ready for use. If you are not finished service or maintenance on a system and a shift change occurs, always wait for the employee who is replacing you to attach his or her lock before you take yours off. Don't ever leave your lock on once your shift is over. Since no one but the person who attached the lock is allowed to remove it, your not being present causes a lot of hassle. Your supervisor or upper management will have to make all possible attempts to find you and let you know that the lock is going to be removed. Then he will probably cut the lock. Never, ever cut a lock yourself. Always notify your supervisor that a lock is attached and the person it belongs to is not there. No one can be too familiar with lockout tagout. No one can be too careful, especially when you're dealing with something wild like hazardous energy. The same energy that helps you get your work done can come back to bite you if you don't keep it under lock and key. OSHA's Lockout Tagout standard and your employer's energy control program are more than just a set of rules to follow on the job. They are your keys to controlling hazardous energy and keeping you alive.